thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me today. And this is, as you say, my first trip to Taiwan. And the reason I haven't been able to visit before is I've been in the British government for the past 10 years. So that is a restriction, as you know, on our ability to come to Taiwan. But I was very keen to come because, first of all, I'm a great admirer of Taiwan. You are a hugely successful economy. You have growth rates that we would be very envious of in the United Kingdom and across the free world. Of course, you're also a very important economy for global trade in terms of things like shipping routes, but also in terms of the products you produce, the critical minerals, the IT products. I think it's something like of every laptop and mobile phone, 60% have Taiwanese content across the world, and semiconductors, of course, are absolutely critical. So it's a very important economy and a demonstration of what freedom and democracy achieves. Because when you give the ability to people to start their own business, to run their own lives, then they do very well. And that's the opposite of top-down control and coercion. But the second reason is because of the current situation we're in. Taiwan really is at the frontier of freedom. And there is a struggle now between autocracies and democracies around the world. And the sad fact is the democracies are not currently winning. That fewer people live under democracy than they did 30 years ago. And I think it's incumbent on us who live in free democracies to make the case for democracy and individual liberty and freedom. But we also need to stand up to authoritarian regimes. And that, to me, is about us working more closely together on security. It's about working more closely together on the economy. And I think you'd agree that the UK is following through on that. We've just joined the CPTPP. When I was Trade Secretary, I kicked off those negotiations, and it's been a long process. We also had to strike deals with Australia and New Zealand, which were controversial in various parts, but we managed to get it done. And we are now joining the CPTPP, which is very exciting. And I think CPTPP is vital because it underpins the type of trade that we believe in. Trade that is based on the rule of law, that is based on the concept of free enterprise, that doesn't contain things like unfair state subsidies or intellectual property theft. So that is why CPTPP is so important. And I've already said during my time in Taiwan that I believe that Taiwan ought to become a member of the CPTPP. I also want to see the free world working more closely together to deal with the issue of economic coercion, which I think is very important. We do see China in particular using their economic power to try and have geopolitical influence, whether it's through the Belt and Road Initiative, or whether it's through unfair trade practices, or whether it's through targeting countries that criticise them, such as Lithuania and Australia most recently. And I very much believe that the free world need to work together to have a common policy towards those activities. Because we know that economic power is incredibly important, and China is now the largest economy in the world on a purchasing power parity basis. Having said that, we know that if you add the G7 and the EU, you get to more than 50% of global GDP. And that's a very important force in the world. The second area I would highlight is security. And again, the UK has been very proactive on this. We've just signed another security deal with Japan. We are doing now a lot of joint military exercises with